My name is Heather Franklin. I am the Sexual Violence Prevention Coordinator for New Mexico Department of Health, and I'm here with Alena from Resolve in Santa Fe, and we're here to talk to you about how to be an effective bystander as part of the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So Alena, I don't know if you would be able to give a few more words on the introduction about yourself, about your organization, and what type of prevention that you do.
Sure. So my name's Alena Schaim. I'm the Executive Director and an Instructor with Resolve. And I think of what we do as comprehensive violence prevention. So everything from hopefully making it so that perpetrators aren't created in the first place, so doing anti-bias, anti-oppression work, bystander intervention work, to exploring healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, how can I support someone in that situation, to finally, what can I do if I find myself in this moment of seemingly inevitable violence? How can I get out of it, or how can I help someone else in that situation? What most people call self-defense or bystander intervention.
So a whole spectrum of prevention. And then with effective bystander intervention, could you kind of explain what it is? I know some people have different ideas on what it is, and maybe give an example about what it means to be an effective bystander.
Of course. So I think there's two ingredients that are critical to being an effective bystander. One is being able to identify what moments need intervention, and the second piece is actually being able to act in that moment. A lot of times people have one or the other, but it's really both are required. And most often I find that people, when they think of bystander intervention, they think of the moment that someone is being assaulted, and so the only thing that they can do is jump on someone and stop the assault. And certainly that is an example of bystander intervention. What we see more often is being able to intervene and say, like, hey, I don't think she's interested, or you made that joke, I didn't think it was funny, can I tell you what I was concerned about, etc. So one example that we think of and talk about a lot in our classes is what happened with Brock Turner. And so you may be familiar with the letter that his victim wrote to the court, in which she talked about how it was devastating and the effects of PTSD in her life, but she also talks about how she hangs a picture of a bicycle above her bed to remind her that there's good people in the world. Because her assault was interrupted by two men, grad students, who were passing by on bicycles. One went to be with her, the other one chased him down and held him until the police came. And that's that classic, I think that story went so viral because it appeared that it was a stranger assault because it was by a dumpster, and it was also really clear that an assault was happening. And so I love that story of the bicycle above her bed. It gives me goosebumps every time, but I still think of what could have happened sooner. So I imagine, what we know about that is that they were at a party together. She drank far more than she ever had in the past. She's not a drinker. So what could you have seen in that moment? Could we have seen him giving her lots of drinks that she did or didn't know had alcohol in it? Could we have seen her stumbling towards the door with him helping her walk? And even earlier, could we have seen maybe him expressing interest that wasn't completely returned, or not returned at the level so that something was going to happen that night? And even before the party, were there jokes that he made or he laughed really hard at around normalizing abuse towards women?
Yeah. And those would be moments where someone could have intervened, right?
Yeah, and so much less high stakes moments, and that's where it's more likely and less stressful for us to figure out what to do.
That's excellent. And then looking at the tips, are there 2 to 3 tips that you would give someone about how to be an effective bystander, how to practice that?
So the first one that I think of is just listening to people who are affected by violence. So when we're talking about domestic and sexual violence, we're oftentimes talking about women. LGBT folks have really high rates, as do people with disabilities. And so how can we amplify their voices and what it is that they think needs to be addressed, rather than speaking over them? So that's one piece, is really, that's how we know what moments need intervention, is by being good listeners. The second piece is practicing. So in our classes, well, before that, I want to say many of us have acknowledge or don't acknowledge that there's still the fight, flight, and freeze response when it comes to acting as a bystander. We talk about it a lot if we're being targeted, but it's still in the place to be able to be like, I see that thing over there and I should do something.
Yeah.
We need to be able to navigate that. And so in our classes, one of the things that I love most is we're practicing how to act when we're adrenalized and in that stressful state to overcome those impulses that might not serve us in that moment. And so that may be someone yelling, that may be someone saying really things that make our breath catch. But the other thing that can be done even outside of a classroom is, there's a lot of these viral videos going around of either assaults or at least verbal assaults. And oftentimes when we watch those videos, what we're practicing is the freeze response. We're practicing going, oh God, that's so awful, I don't know what I would do. And that doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve our mental health, it doesn't serve us in a practice way. And so what we can do in that moment is practice, well, I would say this, figure out what words it would be, figure out how you would utilize nearby resources or talk with someone else. So practicing is just critical.
Kind of practicing that muscle, right? So and having empathy for yourself too in that moment. And then I know that you're part of the It Starts With Us campaign, which is working with bystander, intervention as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about that campaign, what you like about it, your role in it, and maybe where people could find more information on it?
So what I like about that campaign, it's most visible as a media campaign, so social media as well as posters in schools and other environments, booklets being handed out to folks in helping positions. And what I like about it the most is that it's really encouraging people to have just 2-minute conversations, whether it's an intervention conversation or a proactive conversation, to say, hey, you heard that and I was kind of concerned about that, or to say, I know that this message is going around and I want to help you understand that a little bit better. And what's critical about that, what I think we all like about that, is that, if we're only relying on experts to change sexual and domestic violence in our communities, it's just not going to move that much. We need everyone, even when they're not experts, to be able to have those conversations where they're at, and then, if needed, go back to folks like us and other people and say, hey, what do you think about what I said? Is there anything that I can add? Because I'm going to see them again on Thursday. And then just being aware that you can always go back and have that conversation. People always think that it's that moment or bust, and that's just not true.
And then talking about resources to go to, I know that there is the Starts With Us campaign on Facebook and Twitter, but what are some other resources if they wanted to get a hold of you, for instance, how would they do that?
So they can reach us at resolvenm.org, as well as we're quite active on Facebook, Resolve-Violence Prevention in New Mexico.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah.